Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Multi-Location Marketing Leader. I'm your host, Erin Martin, and this episode's brought to you by Netsertive, a marketing partner who can help you run better digital marketing programs. Today, our guest is Abby Fogel. She's the VP of Marketing and Brand Relations at Unleashed Brands that has a portfolio of brands that help kids learn, play, and grow. They include Urban Air, The Little Gym, Snapology, Premier Martial Arts, and recently acquired Class 101. She's also one of the Franchise 500's top influential women in franchising and on the IFA's Women Franchising Committee. Abby, thanks for joining me today.
Erin, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, first off, congrats on the recent announcement. I think it was only like 2 days ago, you guys officially announced the acquisition of Class 101, which sounds like is
Yes.
one of the nation's largest college planning services and the first acquisition for you guys in the teen market.
Yeah, so it's been really exciting. We had been teasing it for a while that we had some deals coming down the pipeline, and we are so excited to welcome Class 101 into Unleash Brands portfolio. As you mentioned, this is really our first strategic investment into the teen category. And it's really the bookend to our Candyland board of life that we are building for parents and families to find enrichment programs. And so, as you mentioned, they are the lead college planning, really business out there. They are a franchise. And we are really just excited to have them in our portfolio. We started brand integration this week with them. So they were in our office in the DFW area in Texas and just fully onboarding into our platform. So really excited to have them. And I would say stay tuned because there's another one coming this month as far as an acquisition announcement that we are equally excited about.
Ooh, nice. And I do have a lot of questions on that, but before dive in, just real quick to give our audience some background on your role at Unleash Brands, can you share a little bit about that and then what you do there?
Definitely happy to. So I am the VP of Marketing and Brand Relations at Unleashed Brands. In my role, I oversee all of the franchise development marketing efforts. So ensuring that we're bringing the right candidates into our profile, into our portfolio, and working with our lead recruiters for each brand on their specific marketing initiatives. So whether that be digital, trade shows, whatever it might be, working with them to make sure that our marketing advertising budget is deployed correctly and that we are measuring and making sure that we're getting quality leads. So that's the kind of marketing role of my responsibility. And then brand relations has been a really great also area for me to dive into at Unleash Brands. And so I work very closely with the mergers and acquisitions team to help talk to founders, talk to brands out there in the youth enrichment space, tell them about Unleash, what we're doing, our mission, and then just seeing if there's any alignment for a partnership. So working very closely to bring new brands into our portfolio.
Awesome. And yeah, that was where my next question was going is on the brand integration and acquisition front, what your role is. And so then it's almost like, it's not just the typical fran dev marketing that you think of in terms of enrolling franchisees. It's a whole different ballgame when it comes to acquiring a full-on brand.
Yeah, my
So
role has been super interesting in that realm that I get to, be involved in various different areas of the company. And so, in the mergers and acquisition side and that brand relation side, I'm really reaching out to, those in the kids space and the youth enrichment space, trying to get to know them, doing an introductory call with them, telling them more about Unleashed Brands, what we're doing, what our platform's doing, how we work with brands. And then I walk them through our mergers and acquisitions process, to learn more about us, to learn their goals. What do they want for their company? What do they want for themselves personally and professionally? And then, yeah, just walking them through that process. And then if there is alignment and we get to, a transaction and that's executed, we then pass them off to our brand integration team. So we have a whole squad here at Unleashed Brands, really focus on bringing those brands into our portfolio so we can be fully immersed in what they're doing. They can be fully immersed in what we're doing. And so it's a really thoughtful, I think like 300 some column, 300 some row smart sheet of everything they have to do for brand integration. So it's a really thoughtful process that we get to know them and they get to know us and we can work really efficiently together.
yeah. So what does that brand integration process look like? Like what are you guys going through this first week for with Class 101, for example?
Yeah, so it's a multi-step process. They come to our office. Really, the first thing we do is just a brand overview. And so, with a lot of the companies that we've been able to acquire, we have kept on their really strong management team. So, for Class 101, Tom Haben is the CEO and president, and he's going to remain at the helm under Unleashed Brands and lead us into this next chapter. And so, really hearing from him, casting vision, hearing about the brand, hearing where he wants to take it. And so, the brand integration process is really for our team to sit and listen to what they're doing and not necessarily problem solve right there in the moment, but just to take it all in and then figure out where we want to take it from there. Are there things we need to change or things we need to adjust? But really, during the brand integration process, a lot of it is just listening. And so it starts with a brand overview, and then each department gets time with the new company that we bring on. So yesterday, actually, we did a franchise development. They call them huddles, and we met with Tom and Betsy as well, who's fabulous at Class 101, and just learning about their current recruiting efforts, what they're doing, how they're getting leads, hearing about their ideal candidate profile so we can help build that on our end as well. And so a lot of it is just listening and time together, getting to know us, our office. There's some fun social time as well. A lot of them went to main event last night and did bowling and fun things. But yeah, it's a 5 phase process. So this is just like the very first stage, week one, getting to hear from them, but then goes through, 4 additional stages after phase one.
Yeah, gotcha. So then from your end, for your ideal candidate profile, like, do you guys have that very cleanly outlined? Like, you know exactly what you're looking for in a brand that you would want to bring onto the portfolio? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I would say that we have, what we're looking for, but a lot of it is all different. And so I think there's a perception out there that we're probably just looking for, brands that have 200 plus units or that are really mature, very established in the marketplace, which is just not true. We're really looking at everything right now. So we have 4 categories that we put brands in as far as their unit count. So it'd be incubator, emerging, scaling, and mature. And so, Class 101, for instance, they have less than 50 units. The brand that we'll be bringing on later this month, they also have less than 50 units. And so we are looking at those, in that smaller stage, emerging or incubator and not just the scaling and mature, which obviously we love those brands as well, but we're really looking at everything. And when I say everything, I truly do mean everything, not even just brands that are already franchised. So we're looking at brands that are not franchised as well that we believe we can franchise, or those that just have, corporate units right now. So really looking at everything in youth enrichment space, those that are, leading the category, have niche products. We love brands that have a lot that we can continue to grow and sell them. And so, we want them to have really great unit level economics. We want them to have, really great brand recognition. We love also brands who do the franchise business review survey and have, if they are a franchise, have great, franchisor satisfaction scores, great NPS if they do that as well. So there are definitely things that we look for, but not an exact, like, formula. We're looking at everything right now.
Yeah. And what about what challenges, I guess I would say, come along with non-franchise brands? Like, what would you warn other marketers of who are looking at non-franchise brands and turning them into franchise? Is there some common thing that you see that needs more education or, whatever it may be when it comes to that route?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I would say for those who are not franchise and then become franchise models, I think you quickly want to be everything for your franchisees and you want to be the experts at everything. And so I think about marketing specifically. I work for a lot of brands that we've done some things in house and we've done some things that were outsourced. And so I think you have to strike that really fine balance, especially when you're a young brand. An emerging brand, you often don't have the resources to do everything in house. You can't hire really high level executives who are the experts at marketing. And so I would say for those that are not franchised, looking at franchising, when you step into that process and you start hiring your team, really look at those things that you can outsource and those things that you can keep in house and find that really nice balance to support your franchisees. Oftentimes, if you try to take everything in house, your team's either going to be spread too thin, you're not going to be providing the right level of support. And so lean on those experts, in whatever areas you outsource in to provide that level of expertise, and your in house team can really focus on supporting and growing the franchisees.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I forget again, I think you shared with me once what your guys' Unleash Brands goal was for the platform company. Do you guys have a specific growth goal in mind on that side of things?
Yeah, so as far as brands that we are hoping to bring on this year, we're hoping to bring on 3 to 5 brands this year. We will have, we've announced Premier Martial Arts at the beginning of this year. We've announced Class of 101, and we've got one coming soon. So we're well on our way to that goal. But yeah, hoping to end this year with additional 3 to 5, which is really exciting.
Awesome. And I know you guys were recently at multi-unit as well, and so I'm curious how that went. And I'm also just curious in general on your take on trade shows. So maybe start with
Sure.
multi-unit. How was that one for you guys?
Yeah, so multi-owned was great. We actually had 3 brands there, so Urban Air Adventure Park, Snapology, and the Little Gym, were all there as well. It was great for me to see as well. That was my first multi-unit conference. Also just my first time really trade showing with a brand. I've not been with brands historically that went to trade shows, and so it was also just really great for me to see lots of work and planning that goes into that. I appreciate every person that's involved in the logistics of getting the booth there, getting it set up, and going through all of that. So we had a full squad. Each of our individual brands, they have their own team of recruiters that are specific to that brand. And so we had a whole team of recruiters there for each of the brands, and then some of the people from Unleashed Brands as well, kind of overseeing all of the brands. And so I think it was well attended. We had a little competition in between our brands as far as lead counts. And, we always like some friendly competition at Unleashed Brands. And so I think we definitely saw a good number of people there that were interested in multi-unit franchising opportunities. We got some good leads that we're following up with, via text message, emails, and all the things there. But it was a good showing. The content was good there. General sessions were good. Just some really great networking time. Yeah, we had a couple of our franchisees there as well that are multi-unit franchisees of other systems and within ours. So yeah, it was a good showing. I think for trade shows specifically, like I said, I haven't had a lot of experience with brands that go to trade shows, but I do think it was great to get out there and meet with franchisees. And so, as I think about franchise development and marketing, I think it can't just be one thing. And so, you can't just be doing trade shows, right? It has to be a part of your overall marketing strategy. I think it is one good component of an overall marketing strategy to get out there, have some face time, because even the leads that are coming in through your website, the like that text message, that email, sequence that you're sending them, nothing can truly replace that like in-person contact when you're really getting to pitch your brand, your passion for your brand in person with a franchisee who may not be reading your text or email. So we're signed up for a multi-unit again next year. We're really excited to have a little 4-pack with our brands there and have a more of a platform, presence. And so, yeah, we'll be returning and anxious to see, as we get through the next couple of months here, what happens with those leads for multi-unit.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm always torn on trade shows sometimes because I love the in-person nature of it. And then having done the booth before, it is so insane the logistics that go into it. So it is this
Yes.
huge effort. And you're always like, was it worth it?
Yeah, we did have a lot of booths for the brand. So we did new booth brands and obviously all the materials and things like that. So it is a lot that goes into it. But yeah, excited to reuse those at some trade shows this year and see where we can use them elsewhere.
Awesome. So then what else is working for you guys on the Fran Dev side of things?
So for dev wise, I would say it's always multi-channel, multifaceted as far as what we're doing. And so it's also different per brand. And so that's the one thing about being under Unleashed Brands, umbrella. We're not doing the same thing for each brand because we have a very different ideal candidate profile for each one of our brands that we have identified that are really leading our marketing efforts. And even with the different investment levels for our brands, obviously Urban Air being at the highest and then, our other brands being a little lower than Urban Air. It's a really different strategy and person that you're attracting, whether you're trying to attract an owner operator or that really true, investor level individual. So for us, it's a variety of things. I would say we're definitely doing digital marketing. I think a lot of people in franchise development are doing that. But it can't just be that. So we're doing digital marketing. We're doing a lot of email content, email sequences to our leads really focusing on blog content and social media content, so just content in general, getting some really rich content out there, telling the story about each of our brands, the opportunities, and how you can really make a living with these opportunities. As you know, I talked about trade shows, which is great. We're redoing all of our franchise development websites this year. So we just rolled out a new Snapology website. We're doing a new Unleashed Brands website, which will be out in the next couple of months here. And then going one by one to make sure those websites are updated, really focused on, driving conversions on those websites. And so, putting some effort into those. And we're also doing public relations for all of our brands as well. So continuing to pitch those stories, pitch our brand presidents, if there's any really interesting, franchisee stories or new markets that we're in, keeping a good pulse on, PR as well. So in summary, it's different for all of the brands depending on, what's working and how we are seeing the leads come in. The number of financially qualified leads who are coming in, we're always trying to, bump that number up to make sure that we're hitting mark there. And what's interesting for us too under the platform company is we also have this different marketing channel that singular brands don't have. And so the leads that come in for urban air, those that may not be financially qualified, we're able to offer them other brands in our portfolio that they may be financially qualified for that still scratches that itch of they want to impact children or they love children or they want to be a youth enrichment brand's franchisee owner. And so that's kind of like our own marketing channel we have as well as just leads coming in from other brands and seeing where we can match them within our platform that's gonna work really well for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can say I've seen the new Snapology website because I was on there signing my daughter up for a summer camp, which
Love
she's so
it.
excited about. It's the Shredder Snapology combo one where you
Awesome.
actually like ski indoors or something.
That'll
I
be
was
awesome.
pretty stoked on it. I was like, "This looks awesome, game on."
You'll have
And
to
I'm
tell us how you
curious
like
with
it.
the websites, what was driving a lot of that overhaul? And I asked too because I saw the Snapology website before, and at first glance, I would not know what would need to change. So you probably know, like, what were you seeing before that you were hoping to optimize? Was it just like a lot of traffic was going there, but not as many conversions as you wanted, or what was it?
Yeah, I think for the websites, we're always trying to make it easy for individuals, whether it's a mom signing up their child or an entrepreneur looking at franchise opportunities to find the information that they need and then take them through that step by step process, whether it is registering or getting to submit their information for us to follow up with them. And so the franchise development site, again, was wonderful and it just needed some tweaking and really taking them through that process. So we tried to clearly define, steps of the website that we're hoping that user to take more calls to action, better forms on the pages, and more prominent areas in many different areas of one page. So every single, bottom of the page has a form. When you land on the homepage of the Stopology franchising website, there's a form above the fold there. And so just making it very easy for someone to, get in touch with us about franchising opportunities, learn more about the opportunity, but then really walking them through, step by step the information, for them to take in before they reach out to us. So I would just say it's better organizing information, more calls to action, and the more forms on the page. So yeah, there's always and I would say it's not done. Like it's never done, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure this year as we just launched it in March, we'll be watching it very closely, tweaking it, I'm sure. And yeah, nothing's ever done.
Yes, convenience, convenience for people too, making it easy left and right wherever possible. And so what
Yeah.
metrics are you looking at? And I guess in general, I just love picking marketers' brains on like what metrics you guys kind of monitor and watch closely. Like what's the ones that are front and center in your daily life and as a company goal?
Yeah, so for the website specifically, obviously we're looking at traffic. Everyone's looking at traffic. We want to, see people are coming to our site, how they're getting there, looking at, bounce rate, are they staying? Also, just really as we launch the new website, really looking at the user flow. And so what pages are they going to and how they're getting? So are they following that prescribed process that we think they're following, or are they following another process because that's really how the user's thinking? So I would say that user flow is just because of launching a new website is really important for us to watch because we want to see where they're going, how they get there, and the pages that are getting the most visibility. Because maybe we thought they would go from, the available territories page to this page, but they're actually going in this direction and it gives us opportunity to adjust. And so I would say that's one of the main things we're looking at. Obviously, we're looking at leads that are coming in and then looking at, are we targeting the right kind of lead? Are we getting someone that is financially qualified, that is a quality lead that wants to continue the conversation with us. And so, obviously heavily looking at traffic, heavily looking at the pages they're going to, the number of leads we're going in. Is that, increasing? Is it decreasing? Are they quality leads? Is the traffic increasing and the leads are increasing, but they're not quality leads? So just really looking at a lot of those things when it comes to the website specifically.
Awesome. And yeah, I know that you mentioned kind of the unique approach that you guys have with being able to, if someone's not, a financial good fit for urban air, you have a bunch of other brands that could be a good potential. And it sounds like you guys do a lot of different unique things in that regard of marketing the multiple brands. Like I think you guys did a shared discovery day and there's a few other things going on. Can you share more a little bit about that and those kind of shared synergies?
Definitely. So yeah, as you mentioned, we just did our first combined discovery day. We're really excited about it. It was such a great time. And so that does a variety of things. So obviously from an efficiency standpoint, it's great for us because of having our team only, present once for all of the brands versus individually. Before, like most people, we were doing individual brand discovery days. So imagine, the time and effort that goes into that. And so definitely create a lot of efficiencies and synergies. It also just created this, like, really awesome energy. So having all the
Mhm.
brands there, having these candidates really understand what it means to not only be a Snapology, a Little Gym, an Urban Air franchisee, but a franchisee a part of the overall platform. And so that's where I think this really great energy was created because they got to see I'm a part of this larger vision. So how the discovery day goes, Josh Wall, our chief growth officer, kicks us off, gives us the expectations, but then we roll right into the Unleash Brands vision. And Michael Ryan Jr., our CEO, who's wonderful casting vision, he's got that first time slot, which is really important to set that overall vision casting. It pumps up the room, it gets people excited about being a part of Unleash Brands. We roll into marketing, operations, financials, legal, and then the brands do split and they go to the individual locations to really experience the location. So for Urban Air specifically, they get to ride go-karts, they get to do the Skyrider, they taste the food, they see the cafe, all that really fun things. Sapology, they do a whole class. They get to build drones and robotics and fun things like that. Little Gym, they get to go to a gym as well. So they'll split. So there's some things that are combined because of the shared services at Unleash Brands. There's some things that are split. We gather back together for a social hour. And then the next day kind of has some split portions, sometimes together. But it also, shows them too. So one of the great benefits of a franchise system that we all know and love is that these franchisees have peers in franchising, owners that they can learn from, people have gone before them. They also get to see that I have peers in my brand and then I also have peers just in Unleash brand. So I've got Sapology owners I can learn from, even if they're not, if I'm a Little Gym owner, I can still learn from a Sapology owner or an Urban Air owner, whatever it might be. So they also, while they have this larger team at Unleash, they also have a larger team of peers. And so Combined Discovery Day was awesome. We're very excited to continue to do that. Class of One's going to be joining, the group of that Combined Discovery Day, which is exciting, and the brands that we bring on will as well. So we're doing Combined Discovery Day. We do have a combined franchisee conference, so that will be in October for us. We'll bring all the brands together, which is really exciting as well to have everyone under one roof per se for our franchisee conference and provide vision, and then they'll break out into their individual brands and things like that. And another exciting thing that we're doing as far as combined resources and promoting all the different brands is we are doing a franchise education webinar next week. It's 1 hour. Um, Michael's going to cast his vision for about 10 minutes. And then all of our brand presidents are going to give about a 10-minute overview of where the brand is currently, the future of the brand, some quick hit numbers and things like that. So we're inviting individuals that are interested in urban air sapology, Little Gym, or if they don't know and they want to kind of figure out which brand they might be interested in. We're having some combined webinars, and this will be our first time doing that. And then we're hoping to do it quarterly, depending on the success of that webinar. And all of our brands follow the same discovery process. So we'll also have a time at the end of that webinar to, highlight what that discovery process is. It's very, methodical and all of our recruiters follow that. So a lot of fun things that we're doing in regards to the multi-brand, really promotion of our franchising opportunities.
That's awesome. And then also on the marketing side, how do you guys handle or think about shared services and as well? Like how do you handle all the marketing operations? Like what do you leave up to the brands and franchisees? Like what does that layout look like?
Yeah, so there's an area of shared services at Unleash Brands, and then there's still an area of services that really belong to the individual brands. And so for shared services, a lot of that is HR, legal, there's marketing strategy, media buying, franchise development, obviously office space and some things like that that are shared services. And then things that are left up to the individual brands can be a little bit different than that. And so, for example, I'll talk about marketing because we're, on the marketing podcast right now. Why not? So franchise development all comes to us. And so we take that from, recruiting, marketing, all of that strategy. Consumer marketing works a little bit different. We have a wonderful CMO who oversees all of the marketing strategy for Unleashed Brands. and the things that we're doing there to attract consumers. But then each individual brand still has a marketing team. So they still have their vice president of marketing, they still have their, they've got field support or a communications person. And that kind of rolls up into our overall Unleash brand strategy. But there are still things that that brand is going to know. And that brand still, while following the vision of Unleash Brands, is still executing on the day to day. And so there's those shared services like that marketing specifically where they still have their own marketing teams that we're in the know what they're doing and making sure that, aligns with the overall strategy, but that still lives inside the brand.
Yeah, gotcha. And it's kind of funny to hear you talk because I think you only started with Unleash Brands like 4 months ago, and it sounds like you've been there for 4
Yes.
years.
Well, a
You
franchise,
really haven't
I
been
think
around that
every year is a dog year in franchising, so I've only
long.
been there since December. It feels like much longer, which is great, especially when you're with, such a growing company. And I was just having a conversation with one of my coworkers on my team this week as far as marketers, and the best place that we can really be in is with a growing company because you grow so much with that company. And so the new things they're taking on, the new things that they toss your way that you have not done before. For me specifically, the M&A world is, different than my past experience, but has been a really awesome space for me to dive into. And so as marketers, I think the best thing we can do is be with a really, unique growing company, and that will help grow your skill set. And so I have just loved being a part of the Unleash Brands, vision and mission these past couple of months, and obviously spreading the word about all that we're doing and the exciting things that we've got going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys have a ton of momentum. So I want to kind of flip side it. Like, what's some of the challenges you guys are faced? Or, if you could like snap your fingers and have one issue that's like plaguing you out of your way, like what's that you guys are kind of looking at and figuring out how to get over?
Good question. So for us, I would say is just, overcoming a lot of like the change hurdles. And so there are things within our brands that not necessarily we come in and change them, right away, or even just because it's not ever just because it's because of, our larger vision. And so all of our brands are, one of the things that we like about them is having membership models. And so those brands that may have not had a membership model before are transitioning to more of a membership model, which is really great for the franchisee because that's the, recurring revenue model. That's, great for them to have, less of a drop off at a certain point if they're doing just a seasonal or monthly, program. But that's a change, right? That's a change for a franchisee. That's not what they've done before. So casting that vision, really understanding, how that change impacts them, why we're doing it, and what comes out on the other side of that. So I would say we're dealing with change within the brands. We're, with a growing company like ours, I think we're bringing on about 40 people this year at Unleash Brand. So getting the right people in the right seats to support these brands is obviously a big hurdle for us. Hiring is a
Hiring in
challenge for
today's
everyone, and
market.
getting yeah, hiring is a challenge for everyone, and we need a lot of people to support our growth, to support the brands that we're bringing on, obviously from a great brand integration standpoint, but for franchise development marketing specifically, as we bring on all these brands, and that is a shared service, we have to be ready to support those brands from a marketing standpoint, making sure we have someone that can support whether it's email content, blog content, oversee their, digital marketing efforts or whatever it might be. Making sure that we're staffed up to support the new brands that we're bringing on is really important too.
Yeah. And I know that you recently brought on a new team member onto your crew. Do you have any more planned?
So we definitely have a lot of marketing positions planned for this year. A lot of those more on the consumer marketing side. For franchise development specifically, we will be hiring some more recruiters this year for the brands that we're bringing on. And yeah, for marketing, I think we are, looking at some outside, resources, and then hoping to bring on a couple more on my team as well, just to continue to build out our efforts. The guy that I just recently brought on is overseeing a lot of our content, so email content, social, blog content, and really streamlining that for a lot of our brands. So excited to, have a really growing team. Our franchise development team as a whole, I think it's close to 20 people right now. I think we're sitting at 19, which is really awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And I know one other thing I think you mentioned, you'll have to call me on this, is that you guys are also thinking about a consumer marketing side app. Is that correct?
Yes.
One
Yep,
initiative
that's
you have
correct.
going on?
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, Unleashed Brands has been, since our inception since July, 2021 has been very much a B2B brand. And so this summer, for the first time, our consumer marketing team will be testing Unleashed Brands as a B2C brand. And so for a parent, what that means is, coming to Unleash Brands to enroll their child in Sapology, in Urban Air Adventure Park, in the Little Gym, in Class 101, and really having all of those brands at their fingertips to easily enroll their child in whatever works best for them. And so our goal there is really to, help parents simplify the process of finding those options for their child. There's your mom, there's so many out there. And so it's like, should my son be doing this? Should he be doing that? At what stage should they be doing that? What's next after I finish a season? And so we really want to be that resource for parents that they come to us and we can provide recommendations depending on their child's, likes, interests, hobbies, the stage of life that they're at, and recommend services and products under the Leash Brands profile to really grow their child. And so we talk a lot in board games. And so if you've talked to anyone at Leash Brands, they've probably either mentioned Candyland or Monopoly. The Candyland board is what we're really trying to fill out for parents. And so we want there to be something on our Candyland board of life for every child out there. And so that's our goal on the M&A team is to fill out that board and find brands that are going to fit nicely in that board and serve, mom as the customer and kid as the user. And so with this test that we're doing as far as taking Unleash B2C, is that, the parent will enroll and they'll see, I've got my Urban Air membership. Great, check mark. I've got a Snapology, maybe I'm doing a Snapology summer camp that could be at an Urban Air check mark, but they might see that in gray. Oh, the Little Gym, Class 101, or whatever it might be. And so recommending those other those products and services and seeing those other options and actually enrolling through Unleash Brands and not through the individual brand. So that's gonna be really interesting for us. We're, anxious to get out there and do that and just be that resource for parents.
Yeah, and I love that. I know personally, my Candyland board is filled up because I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, which is like Little Gym and Urban Air could just fulfill our weekends all summer.
Yes.
So that board's filled for me. So with that, then how do you think about or how does your team also think about branding? I know like one example from the home service industry is like you've got Neighborly who really pushes the Neighborly brand and then all of the brands within it. And then you also have an Authority Brands who really focuses on making sure that the brand, individual brands are really consumer facing and what they're pushing. So it kinda sounds like a middle ground of both, but I don't know, like, how do
Yeah.
you guys think about kind of the branding side of Unleashed Brands as the name versus the brands?
Yeah, and those are really great examples of platform companies that are leading, the way in their industries. And so for us, we're really the first platform company in the youth enrichment space. So the first one to organize these activities of, youth enrichment activities to grow children. And so it is a fine balance because you want to be that resource for parents, that household name. We want Unleashed Brands to grow into that resource for parents, but each individual brand will still maintain their own identity. What makes Urban Air great is very different than what makes Snapology great, what makes a Little Gym great, what makes Class 101 and Premier Martial Arts great, all of those things. And so I think you have to have that overall brand identity, similar to Neighborly, to become the trusted source for who you're serving. But then also that brand has to have, their unique differences and also, it all comes down to the customer experience, right? So we can push Unleash Brands all day long and that, we're an easy enrichment platform or whatever, but it still comes down to that customer experience when a parent walks in the doors at Urban Air or wherever they go, that experience is executed. So it really comes down to delivering that amazing, memorable experience that inspires and grows kids. So we're definitely trying to build up the Unleash Brands, brand in itself because we want to become that trusted source while maintaining the individual brands, of the companies that we know and love, and making sure that, those parents are being served and that customer experience is awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I can
Definitely a fine
imagine
balance. A fine balance. It's gotta be both.
yes. Yes, and so I can imagine with that as well, there's gotta be some awesome shared insights that can come from some of that cross-selling and integration, and I think customer data management platform was one thing that you guys were working on, and I think it's one thing to have data and understand some of it and the performance that it's driving, but it's a whole different ballgame when you have data and you can connect it to insights to make better decisions. Like there's just such a big leap between data to
Yeah,
show what's working and what you can do differently and data that gives you a nugget that you never would have thought of before. So I'd love to learn more
yeah.
about how you guys think about that.
Yeah, so we have a few what we call enterprise platform tools. And so we have the Unleash Brands Command Center, which is basically the hub of all things that franchisees need. And in the cockpit, obviously there's a space theme going on here. Um, the cockpit is where they get all that kind of really great data insights. We have, a gal that oversees all of our data who's fabulous, like one of the most brilliant people you will ever meet, who really dives into the data on a day-to-day basis. And so also one of the things of the brands that come into our portfolio, oftentimes that we find that data is a big struggle for them. They don't have it organized, it's not one place, or the franchisees don't have access to it. They are not seeing anything in real time. And so all the brands that come to our portfolio, these systems that we have, these, enterprise platform tools, the command center, the cockpit, we have an Unleash Brands University, we've got our supply chain we call Supply X, and things like that. And so it's a huge benefit to them to get those tools and to get those systems and processes. And so the cockpit, for example, and the data, being able to drill down on, what's happening in their specific market. There also provides some really great benchmarking opportunities to see what their peers are doing and how they compare to those peers, so they can make sure that they're on track. But data is, I think, one thing probably every franchise brand struggles with, but I think we do a really good job of having a really solid platform, and people are constantly looking at it. I mean, every day there's like a text that goes out about the number of birthday parties that were booked the day before. And so people are keeping a close eye on what's going on and making sure that we're hitting goals.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any examples or, things that come to mind when you think about different insights that you've pulled from it too? Yeah, just trying to think of any specific examples.
Mm. I would say probably looking more so at our NPS is really important. And
Mm.
so especially during and not every brand does an NPS. We
Mhm.
definitely closely monitor the NPS and, especially welcoming families back post COVID. And I think there's different things that families want now that maybe they didn't necessarily know they wanted before or they didn't want. I mean, cleanliness
Yeah.
obviously comes to mind when you think of that. And so keeping a close eye on those things, safety, cleanliness, and things like that. And so there's different things in the data that if your bathroom is not clean, they will also say that like your food is not tasty. And so the correlation
Ah.
between some of those things and your NPS is very interesting. So a clean park provides just an overall a lift in all the scores. And so it
Yeah.
might be, someone greeting you at the front desk or again how the pizza and the wings taste. But if that cleanliness score is high, you're going to see an overall lift in your other scores. So that's really interesting too, just to see what parents are looking for and what they're scoring things, and then the correlation between how that is scored.
Yeah, that's good. All right, we're coming up on some time. There's a few more questions I want to ask you. I think just in general, as a marketer, what other trends or themes have you been keeping your eye on you think other marketers need to be aware of right now?
So one of the things that I think we do really well at Unleash Brands is using our employees as brand advocates. And so that's not the traditional like this digital marketing tactic here. But I will say, as a young, growing brand that's really trying to get their name out there, the amount of people that come up to me and they're like, I see so and so on LinkedIn. I see this on LinkedIn. I've seen your brand here. We have done a really great job of just utilizing our employees as brand advocates, giving them the power to be that and wanting them to be that for us and helping us spread the word about Unleash Brand. So I would just say, utilizing your employees to that. I would also just say one of our core values is just being authentic. And so we also try to be authentic in that content and that posting. And so some of it's cheeky and some of it's fun. And we don't want to represent, who we aren't. So if you see something online that doesn't match when you meet us in person, those that have met us know that we're very casual and authentic. I mean, our CEO, I think I've only seen him wear Nike sneakers. You won't find him in a sports coat. We even have a sign when you walk into the Unleash Brands office. If you're wearing a sports coat, to drop it here because we're casual. We just want to get to know you and have a good time. And so we really want to be authentic. We want the content that we post to be representative of who you meet in person. And so we really empower our employees to post about us. We give them content to post, but then we encourage them. Like when we went to multi unit, Obviously, we had posts leading up to it that we were going to be there. So very nice stylized graphic, which is great. Suggested post copy that they can edit with their own flair. We send that out that they can post ahead of time. But then it's also just like, hey, post while you're here. Grab a photo with connections that you meet. If you're out to dinner with someone, if you met someone great, you learned from someone, if you're in a general session and you got a great nugget, post about that on LinkedIn. Like we're really encouraging them and empowering them to post that we're out there, we're attending these conferences, post more about us. And so that's probably not in the like traditional category of marketing, but I think we're doing a really good job of just empowering our employees to be brand advocates, and that just helps us get more exposure as a brand.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that reminds me of just a really good tip in terms of when you're trying to be authentic and post things. I think one of the rules of thumb is document, don't create. So, like documenting an authentic exchange or documenting just like a day to day thing that you learned. Like, that's one of the best ways to just be authentic. You don't have to create something new. Don't create something that you're not. Just document who you are, what you're doing. Love that.
I love that. And I think like gone are the days of like just your like company page on LinkedIn is going to grow your brand, right?
Yes.
Everyone assumes it is the job of the social media manager, the marketing director, whoever runs it, which it is to have content and post on the company page, definitely the responsibility. But I think, again, just like gone are the days of just having that company page, you're just posting very static content on. Like, I love seeing people that are encouraging conversations, asking for feedback, posting tips, posting where they're at, what they're doing on LinkedIn. And so, yeah, it's no longer just the work of the company page to promote the brand, it's really creating those brand advocates within your brand. Yesterday, we were on the road traveling, meeting with new brands. We snapped a quick photo in the airport. It was not perfect. It was not stylized. We didn't even put a filter on it. I just posted on LinkedIn, like, hey, we're out there. We're on the road. We're meeting brands. We're super excited. Post. So that's a thing. Also, it doesn't have to be perfect or stylized
Yeah.
as marketers. We want everything to be perfect. I'm a recovering perfectionist myself. And so we want it to all be perfect and stylized and make sure it meets the brand standards. And so allowing your employees to have the autonomy to create that, authentic content can be really powerful.
Yeah, and I definitely know when Unleash Brands is on the move or doing something because my feed does blow up. Like, I'll see, like, 6 different people post something. I'm like, "All right, in full force. Unleash Brands is here." Doing it well. I also think you guys do a really awesome job with your mission and kind of vision and values. Like you have a really strong arena on that front. And then I think the second piece that I love about it is how you communicate it. Obviously, like doing the Candyland board, Monopoly, like the space, control center, like it all matches the kid theme of in kids enrichment. But at the same time, it's a simple story that people can get behind. I think everyone wants to simplify narratives and, have something that's simple to remember. And at the end of the day, nothing's really simple. But if you have simple concepts to back up details and have things drive to, that's like the second piece of having, I think, a strong mission, vision, and culture and values is when you're communicating it correctly. And I think you guys do a really good job of that. Yeah. Awesome. Well, a few more questions for you. I definitely want to ask about your experience just being in a younger generation of franchising. You're also on the women's franchising committee for IFA. And so I'm just curious, what are some of the biggest hurdles coming into franchising as a younger generation? Like, what did you see? Like, what were the biggest obstacles that you were like, what is this? And why is this still this way?
Yeah. Great question. So I love that there's kind of this up and coming generation in franchising. And don't get me wrong, there's still, a lot of really amazing people out there with years and years of experience that I have a lot to learn from. But I am seeing kind of this, whatever you want to call it, the rising rock stars, the second generation, a really great group of younger individuals leading the way of franchising, having some really great prominent roles and just becoming a voice, whether it's on LinkedIn or at a conference, whatever it might be. There's kind of this, rising generation, which is really great to see. And so, as far as a hurdle, I would just say, I think making the right connections, being in the right spaces. I think when you're young and growing in your career, it's like, where should I be? What should I be learning? Do I need this certification? Should I focus on here, especially in marketing? Because there's so much to learn and so many areas you could become an expert in. So maybe you do want to focus on digital marketing or you want to be a generalist and oversee the brand efforts or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of interesting avenues you could go as a marketer and trying to figure that out and navigate that as a young person and in a very unique industry such as franchising, which is very different than marketing for an individual company. So I think it's navigating where to go and figuring out where to be and how to find your voice. And so being a part of the women's franchise committee has been awesome for me to learn from other women, especially who have gone before me and are really leading the way, causing change. There's some really awesome, women founders, women CEOs, VPs, CMOs, whatever it might be. And it's not even just about title either. So there's just awesome people on that committee in general. And so I've leaned on them a lot to, help me grow, help me find the areas to grow and mentors as well. But yeah, the Women's Franchise Committee is a great way to just make connections, get out there and network and learn from others. And there's so many opportunities that they provide to do so.
Yeah. What's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from a mentor, from the Women's Franchising Committee, or any of your kind of experiences to date?
Yeah, great question. I would say one of the I don't know, pieces of advice or things that I've been giving is like you're never gonna be ready for whatever's in front of you. So a lot of the opportunities I've received or gotten have been opportunities I maybe wasn't ready for. I thought I wasn't ready for them or even qualified for. I think of the Women's Franchise Committee as one of those examples. One of my mentors, who many people know, Leanne Caruso, who's a fabulous, woman in franchising.
Love her.
She's amazing. She's I think everyone's mentor, right? I'll claim her as mine though. And
Like
so
it.
she was like, "Hey, you should, I have the application. I think you'd be a great addition to the women's franchise committee." Whatever. I looked at the list of names on there, and there's only like, first of all, like 20 people on there. And I was like,
Yeah.
first of all, I don't think I'm qualified to even be on that. I don't think that, like, they will accept my application. Like, I've been in franchising for 7 years, but that's nothing compared to these women who have been on the committee for 25 years that are sitting in very prominent roles and have years and years of experience. And so I was like, "Okay, maybe I'll do this. Like, I'll fill out this application." I knew I was like, "I wanna do it. Like, this sounds great. Like, I would definitely be a part of this." But I was like, "Am I qualified for it?" Like, I didn't think I was. And so she really pushed me to, do the application, be a part of the process, and obviously I got on the women's franchise committee. But so I would say is like you're never going to be ready for whatever your challenge you're taking on. You just have to like jump right into it. Even my current role, I'm learning every day about different parts of my role, learning more about how to execute different parts of my role. So yeah, I probably wasn't ready for some of the things. We jump in and learn you will learn a lot along the way.
Yeah, and there's people there who have done it before or have advice if you can just ask. I think that's one big thing that I've learned from a few good women in my day too, is I remember, um one person told me specifically, like, when it comes to learning and like networking and putting yourself out there, you don't have to do it all. Like, you don't have to show up at every single in-person mixer, in the tech scene or advertising of in ad tech in the role that I was in at the time. But you do have to show up and do a few things. So whether it's like being really active on social media or like connecting with a committee or, like choosing the flavor that you want to do to get involved, but also pushing yourself there to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and so I would say too with your mentors, like, that person who may have got you to step A to step B or whatever it might be, but keeping in contact with them and reaching back out to them if you do need help or if you have a question or honestly, if you just need like a pep talk that week because you're like stressed, overwhelmed, or whatever it might be. Speaking of Leanne specifically, just a couple weeks ago, we did like a Zoom, like little happy hour, just like caught up about what was going on with me, my role. She's at a new role, entrepreneur as well, catching up about there. I know I can text her if I've got any kind of questions about marketing or whatever it might be. Or again, if I just need a pep talk and just need a like, we got this kind of thing, reach out to your mentors, regardless of it's a very specific marketing question or you just need someone to support and encourage you.
Yeah. And having been a mentor on the opposite side of things, it is just as fulfilling, if not more, to be able to have those connections too. So works both ways for sure. Awesome. All right. Well, so last question I have for you then is, what does being a great marketing leader mean to you?
Great question. What is being a great marketing leader? So I would say just someone who's really willing to obviously lead their team, but be alongside them. And so a lot of my roles that I've been in, I've, been on that ground level. I've been the coordinator, I've been the specialist, I've been those roles. And really be able to come alongside them and pull up your sleeves, whatever it might be, and guide and support them through the tasks that you may be assigning to them, through the projects you're assigning to them, and not just like approving their work, because that's different than actually like being alongside them and helping them through it, helping them understand it. And so, especially in franchising, a lot of us are bringing on candidates who are not familiar with franchising, who don't know the franchise model. I think of, the individual that we just brought on, a great marketer, really great person in her, career journey. Didn't know franchising, but brought her into the team. And part of my job is just educating her on the franchise opportunity and the franchising model so she can really understand that, and helping her grow. And whether she stays in franchising forever or not, she'll have that, have that knowledge. So really trying to come beside your people and provide them with the resources and the time, and trying to be present with them as well. There's so much going on as far as meetings and Zooms, and especially when you're meeting with people on Zoom, it can be hard to be present when your emails popping up and people are texting and calling you, and trying to be really present. And so I would say for a marketing leader is just someone who can really come beside their team, roll up their sleeves, help where they need to help, dive in, and be flexible too, and listen to the ideas of your team. And so not all of the great marketing ideas are going to come from the CMO or going to come from the VP. A lot of really great ideas can come from someone at a title wise, other level. And so just being able to, listen to your team members and listen to their ideas.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Abby, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to chat with you today. And hopefully, in the future, when you've got a few more brands under your belt at the end of the year, we could do this again.
I love it. Thanks so much for your time today, Erin. Appreciate everything you're doing in the marketing industry and love spending time with you.